Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel for a new Attack on Titan video. This episode may not be packed with action, but it carried one of the most important conversations of this entire story, almost like a quick summary for the entire events of the show. There were a lot of important details, including some of the missing text that wasn't in the anime. We are going to talk about everything right now, including the branches which a lot of people didn't like, but in fact they actually have a secret meaning which I will explain later in this video. If you are new here, don't forget to subscribe and give this video a little like to let the YouTube algorithm give me some love. And come say hi to me in the comments or on your favorite social media platform. So let's jump right into our episode, The Night of the End, formerly known as End's Eve. Right from the start, this episode skipped on the opening song, and when this happens, we know it's going to be emotional. The episode starts with Jean daydreaming about the perfect life he always dreamed about. Like we see in previous episodes, Jean is conflicted about stopping Eren, simply because Eren's actions will lead Jean to that perfect life. If he just stayed here, Eren will finish the rumbling and Jean will get what he always wanted. A carefree life, deep inside the inner city. He will have nothing to worry about anymore, and he will be free to raise his family. And if you had any doubts about his wife here, this is indeed Mikasa, and the anime as well as the manga showed a little familiar scar on her face. This shouldn't be such a surprise. If you remember, Jean really likes Mikasa. That was clear since the first time they ever met. His dream is interrupted by Hanji that calls him outside. This meeting brings much more sense to the previous chapter where everything was fast-paced, and now we see the actual meeting between our friends. This is when Hanji tells them they joined forces with Marley and the Cart Titan in the attempt to stop Eren and the rumbling. Hanji continues to say she can't force them to do anything now that the island leadership is gone. She is no longer the commander of the scouts, but Mikasa jumps in and tells her that she will join. She doesn't want Eren to kill any more people, even if he meant to protect her and the island. She wants to stop him from causing any more pain. Jean raises an important point. Eren has only 4 more years to live, as he has currently been holding his titans for 9 years. So after he will die, there will be no one to protect the island now that they don't have the walls that protected them in the past. That means that stopping him is also signing a death sentence on their own island. Hanji says that Marley might think twice before attacking again, from fear of the rumbling restarting. But Jean claims that they won't just sit still with the danger of the island always present. That will only make them more eager to finish what they started years ago. And after they have seen what destruction the island can bring, that will unite them even more than Willy Tiber's speech. Hanji agrees that's a possibility, but at least it will buy them some time to prepare. But Jean reminds her that was their original plan. They ran out of time before, and that is why Eren started the rumbling, because he saw no other way. Here, Hanji loses her composure for a moment and starts yelling. She refuses to acknowledge any reason to support mass killing on that scale. She is the Scouts commander. She devoted her heart to saving humanity, and now she feels the weight of all the people they lost on her shoulders. That was a beautiful scene where we get to see all the people they lost so far, and Hanji is convinced no one of them would agree to sacrifice the world just for the sake of their island. We get a glimpse of Jean's best friend Marco among the dead soldiers, and Jean let her know he is still a scout, meaning he is still just like Hanji, and they both devoted their hearts to save humanity. From there we jump to the present time with all of the group members sitting around a campfire in the forest. To put it lightly, there is a lot of tension in the air, and Hanji tries to lighten the mood with some food. You can see that even though they joined forces, there is still a lot of bad blood between them. You can see it when Magaf still refers to them as devils. He doesn't understand why they decided to join forces after they helped Eren with his plan. Hanji tries to explain that they never wanted this mass killing, and the rumbling was supposed to be just a threat to the world. That is why they are now hiding in this forest together. And then Magaf touches a very sensitive point when he asks them if they finally see they are the bad guys in this entire situation. And that is enough to trigger Jean, and he has a point. The people of the island had no idea about the situation in the outside world. Not out of choice, but because their ancestors' memories were taken from them. They were left ignorant, facing man-eating monsters, and those were sent by Marley. They were only trying to survive, and they are certainly not devils. But Magaf keeps antagonizing him. In his eyes, they still look like devils, and their collective actions did bring this destruction to the world. It is important to say that Magaf is not a bad guy, and the alcohol he's having is also a factor in the way he's acting right now, and the anime made sure to make this noticeable. Jean tells him that it all began because Eren had to see his mom get eaten in front of him. And that happened because they sent the warriors, and in reality, Marley is the one who pushed Eren to finally use the island's most devastating weapon. It is also so strange to see Jean on Eren's side, because those two could never agree on anything before. At this point, Magaf uses the most famous card Marley has, the 2000 years of suffering that old Eldia put Marley through. For him, the short history of the island and their suffering is nothing compared to what Eldia did to his people all those years ago. Jean believes Marley played a victim for too long, and even if that history is true, all that happened almost 2000 years ago. In his eyes, they can't use this as an excuse to do what Marley has done to them for the past 100 years. But clearly, the general doesn't see it in the same way. Hanji interrupts them and says there is no point in arguing about events that none of them even lived through. And on a personal note, General Magaf himself didn't experience that horrible times. He lived on the days that Marley was already in power. But our friends from the island did suffer from the attack of Marley in their lifetime. The same goes for the warriors, which of course are on the side of Marley. But they are still Eldians, and we all know how Marley treats their Eldians. Hanji tries to de-escalate the situation. She humbles herself by referring to her and the group as devils. She explains it to John, but the explanation is equally directed at the general. In a clever way, she says that Magaf simply can't understand why a bunch of devils will join forces with the people who tried to kill them in the past. And she soon gives an answer. After they spend time on Marley, they can no longer be ignorant of the people living behind the walls. Let's stop here for a moment. Anime watchers should be pretty confused here, and you have a good reason, because that visit Hanji is talking about was cut out of the anime, as it was part of chapter 123. But you should know they did spend time there, and that was during the 4 years time skip. But unlike Flock, for example, who only took part in the fighting, our friends did experience other things and different people, and that is why they can't ignore them anymore. I promised I will address the reason why this chapter was cut out in a future livestream, so if you are interested, don't forget to click this bell icon and enable all notifications to get notified when the livestream is on. Going back to our friends around the campfire, Annie speaks for the first time. She asks the scouts if they could actually kill Eren if they needed to, but in reality, her question is directed more at Mikasa. Because, like it or not, no one is able to touch Eren if Mikasa will stand in their way. So basically, if Mikasa can't or won't do it, then there is nothing any of them can do about it. Mikasa is far from willing to kill Eren, and she says there are more options to stop him. They should try and talk to him first. Try to convince him they don't want him to protect them, at least not in the way he chose to do it. Annie doesn't stop there. She is very skeptical they could really talk him out of this. In her mind, when the moment comes, the scouts will turn against them again just in order to protect Eren. She believes there is nothing more important to Mikasa than Eren. In fact, she believes he is the only thing she cares for, what makes Mikasa be a huge threat for them. Here is where Mikasa loses her temper. She stands up, asking Annie if she is saying she should die. At this point, Mikasa reaches for her swords and Annie reveals her famous ring, threatening in Titan transformation that would probably blow everyone around. But Annie raises her hand as a sign of peace. She actually understands Mikasa completely because she herself only cares for one person, and that is her father on Marley. She agrees it is pointless to fight about it now, and she admits she needs Mikasa's help. In reality, she would also prefer if Mikasa convinced Eren instead of killing him, and they will handle this situation once they reach that point. The group sit to eat some of the food Chef Hanji prepared for them. While they eat, Hanji points out that they need to get to the flying boat the Azumabito brought to the island. Using that, they could observe the rumbling from up above. That was also the confirmation for the general, as he learns the Azumabito helped the island all this time behind Marley's back. But they still have a big problem. They don't know the exact location of Eren's Titan, and if they just fly around looking, they will run out of fuel before they find him. For that, they need more information, and currently, the only person who can give them more information about Eren's plan is Yelena. This was one of the reasons they took her, because she was in the middle of this entire secret plan. Yelena, of course, refuses to help. Why should she help a bastard from Marley? And when Connie asks if she doesn't want to save her own country, Magath reveals Yelena's secret and true origin. Yelena is not from a country destroyed by Marley like she always claimed. She is actually Marleyan, just like Magath himself. And now, we finally get the full scope of Yelena's character. To put it simply, Yelena's main objective was always the thrill of saving the world. For that, she was willing to sacrifice people of all races, including her own. From the day she witnessed the Beast Titan, she was captivated, and in her mind, she developed a fantasy of her and her prince saving the world side by side. This finally explains why she changed completely since Zeke disappeared, because same as Annie and arguably also Mikasa, for her he was the only thing that matters. He was her savior, the one that will give her that special feeling of being a person who saved the world. And because of that, she aligned herself with his idea of world salvation, which was of course the euthanasia plan. Yelena is what I call Hellraiser. She is all about causing friction, and from that point, she starts pointing out every wrong thing each and every one of the group member did. If you are not familiar with the events of Attack on Titan, you can simply listen to her speech as she describes everything in details. The anime even cut off part of her speech about Reiner who betrayed his friends and is now trying to get her help, and also about how Armin took so much from Bertold when he left a pile of dead bodies just like the Colossal did years back. At this point, she didn't really tell anything that was a secret, because this entire group knows exactly what each of them did. Jean sarcastically thanks her for putting everything on the table, and now everyone is aware of the wrongdoing of everyone else. But then she pulls one piece of information that wasn't known to the scouts, and she finally reveals to Jean the truth behind his best friend's death. And make no mistake, she knows that would rattle Jean to his core, and this is exactly why she does this. Like I said, she is a true Hellraiser, showing you how much effect words can have in this already explosive situation. This is the time for Annie and Reiner to confess, but just as Annie starts, Reiner stops her and he takes all the blame on himself, telling everyone he was the one who made her do that, which actually is not a lie because he did order her to take Marco's ODM gear. At the end of his story, Jean asks him what was Marco's last words. And here I want to point out something pretty smart the anime did that was not present in the manga. And a big shout out to a good friend of mine on Twitter for noticing this right from the start. When Reiner says the words, "We didn't even have a chance to talk about it," the anime goes to a shot of a clear sky in that little clearing of the forest, to signify that was the only thing that will make it possible for them to get out of this forest. The forest, of course, is a metaphor for the conflict, and it was mentioned first by Sasha's father in the episode Children of the Forest. This little detail in the anime showed us this is the first step for enemies to reach some understanding, and through dialogue they will eventually be able to leave that metaphorical forest behind them. The branches that so many people complained about were actually there to signify how complicated the situation is, to show how different opinions and personal interests intersect like giant branches of a tree. And after putting everything on the table, the camera moves away from the messy branches to show you there is a way out of this forest. That is what Jean also realizes. They just needed to talk. This is the only way to solve their problems. That entire scene could have ended right there, but Reiner keeps on talking, describing his mental breakdown after seeing his friend get eaten in front of him. Jean tells him that's enough. But Reiner keeps on and tells him to not forgive him. He is worthless and he is sorry. At that point, Jean couldn't take it anymore, as he jumps on Reiner, pinning him down, punching his face and kicking him on the ground. He finally stops when Gabby throws herself in front of Reiner and she accidentally gets kicked by Jean. She cries and tells Jean that their wish was indeed to destroy all the devils of the island, Back then, they were led to believe this is the only way the world will accept her and the rest of the Eldians who lived outside of the walls. And that's what makes her request so selfish, because now she needs the help of those devils in order to save her own family. She knows how shameless her request is, and she and Falco just keep on begging for forgiveness. Jean leaves the group angry, and we see him later struggles with all of this information. And for the first time, Magath can see Gabby's and the warriors' point of view. And also, for the first time, he feels compassion towards an Eldian devil. We see he is about to comfort her, but he changes his mind at the last second. This is a very important moment in Magath's character development. His eyes are finally open to the pain of the people he considered as tools of war. He finally sees the warriors in a different light, as humans that lived a horrible life, just trying to be accepted by a world that would never really accept them. And for a little comic relief in this episode, we see Levi is finally awake and complains about all the noise around him. Morning comes and Gabi is surprised to see Jean back, and not only that, he says he will help them. It wasn't even an option for him to not help them. And that helps her appreciate the people of the island even more. But it's more than that, because Gabi slowly learns to not hate herself and her origin, because if the devils of the island are simply humans, that means that she as an Eldian is also just a person trying to survive. She is not a curse brought upon this earth by some monster. She is an Eldian, and she is a human as well. Jean wakes up Reiner in a less sensitive way. Really, poor Reiner, he is the biggest punching bag of our story. Isayama just won't give this guy a break. The scouts make their way to the docks towards the flying ship. Jean asks Gabi for forgiveness for kicking her, but he still won't apologize to Reiner, and Reiner accepts this completely. But as they get closer, the cart titan comes running. Peak tells them the Jaegerists beat them to the docks, using the train they built on the island. And we jump straight to the docks, where we see tons of soldiers equipped with thunder spears waiting for them, for one of the biggest fights of this arc. And for the final scene, we see Flock, who captured Kiyomi and is now holding her as hostage. And that is where this episode ends. And on a personal note, that was one of my favorite chapters back then, and I loved the anime adaptation, using the environment in order to deliver a message that sadly a lot of people chose to ignore. So what do you think about this episode? Did you like the forest metaphor and the way the branches were used? Or did you want to see it done differently? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for joining me today, my Titan-loving friends, and I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video if you want to see more like it. And I will see you all real soon in my next video, and even sooner in the comments. And until then, don't forget to always try to talk things through and to dedicate your hearts to all of humanity, inside and outside the walls.